Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/am overreacting for you all. As per usual, I'll be going through the post, giving you my opinion at the end, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Wear jacket. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my parents move into my new house? I, 34 male, recently bought my first home after years of hard work and saving. It's a modest but beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, and I'm incredibly proud of achieving this milestone. My parents, both in their late 60s, currently live in a rented apartment, and while they're not struggling financially, they've expressed concerns about retirement and wanting a more stable living arrangement. After I announced my house purchase, they approached me with the idea of moving in with me. They said it would give them a chance to downsize, save money, and spend more time with me. While I love my parents and respect everything they've done for me, I was honest and told them that I wanted this house to be my personal space. I've lived with them most of my life, and I was looking forward to having my independence. They didn't take it well. They accused me of being ungrateful, reminding me that they sacrificed a lot to support me through college and early adulthood. They even suggested that I owe it to them to give back now that I'm in a better financial position. Some extended family members also chimed in, saying I should honor my parents by letting them live with me. I tried explaining that while I'm happy to help them in other ways, like assisting with rent or finding a better place for them, I'm not ready to share my home. It's not about them personally, it's about finally having a space that's mine. Despite this, they continue to pressure me, and now I'm starting to feel like I might actually be selfish for saying no. So, am I the asshole for refusing to let my parents move into my new house? So, my honest opinion, this would be a different situation if your parents were on the verge of financial collapse and just shit was not going their way and they were about to be homeless in like 2 weeks. And this was a temporary situation for them to get back on their feet. If that was the position, I would say, yeah, you're kind of the asshole here. But because they're looking at this as a way to save money and downsize and to pretty much run a lot of their expenses onto you so they can, well, do exactly what they said. Downsize and save money. And sure, yes, they would be spending more time with you. It's coming at the expense that you were probably extremely excited to finally have your own space and finally have your own area for you to be your person, only to be brought with the brunt that your parents are currently trying to piggyback off of your recent financial success and use you as an opportunity to downsize and save money, and now making you feel guilty for not letting them do so. I think it's perfectly reasonable for you to want that space, and the fact that you're even offering to help them offload some of their expenses instead, you're not the bad guy here in the slightest. You're just a fella who wants some space. That's pretty reasonable. Beastie 420. Am I the asshole for refusing to share my bonus with my fiance's family? I, 30 male, work in tech and had a fantastic year at my job. I recently received a significant year-end bonus, $50,000. And I was thrilled. I've been saving for years to buy a house, and this bonus is going directly into my house fund. My fiancé, 28, knows this and was initially very supportive. Then, she dropped a bomb on me. She asked if I could spare $25,000 of my bonus to help her parents pay off their mortgage. Apparently, her parents have been struggling financially and she feels it's only fair since we're getting married and they're going to be my family too. I said no. I've worked extremely hard for this money, and while I feel for her parents, I don't think it's my responsibility to bail them out, especially when I've never been asked directly by them. Her response? She called me selfish and accused me of not caring about her family. She then brought up how her parents have sacrificed so much for her, and it's the least that I could do. She's been cold to me ever since. She's also told her parents about my bonus without my permission, and now I'm getting guilt-tripped by them. They haven't outright asked me for money, but they've made several comments about how lucky I am to have extra cash and how some people don't get that kind of opportunity. When I mentioned that I plan to use the money to help secure our future with a house, my fiancé said, "What future? You're already showing you don't care about the people who matter to me." I don't think I should have to justify how I use my bonus, but now even my own friends are split on whether I'm being reasonable or stingy. Am I the asshole? Her parents better be in foreclosure if they're asking for that kind of help. Not to mention, just because you're getting a $50,000 bonus doesn't mean you're getting $50,000. Taxes are gonna take a shit ton of that away from you, so be ready for that. So in reality, it's not even a $50,000 bonus where you're splitting it 50-50. Truth is that it's probably going to be anywhere from 40 to 35 by the time taxes are taken out of it, and do the math on that, her parents walk away with the majority of your bonus that you're putting towards your future with someone who, I don't know, maybe showed her true colors to you. It doesn't sound like you're helping them out of a bind either. The wording you used was, spare $25,000 of my bonus to help her parents pay off their mortgage. From that wording, it sounds like you'd be dropping $25,000 for them to no longer have monthly bills, at least in relation to their mortgage. This feels off to me, and the fact that she's already saying that you two don't have a future because you're putting you and your fiance's future ahead of her parents' future says quite a bit about it. But what do y'all think? How do you all feel about a scenario like this? Is OP the asshole for denying helping his fiance's parents? Or is he in the right here? Because in my opinion, it sounds like his fiance's parents aren't in any financial strife. They just want an easy ticket out of not having monthly bills anymore. Imaginary Carrot 2532. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my niece's college after she publicly humiliated me? Advice needed. I, 45 female, am child-free by choice but have always been close to my brother, 47 male, and his daughter, Emily, 18 female. Over the years, I've saved up a decent amount of money, and I offered to help pay for Emily's college when the time came. She's a smart kid, and I wanted to give her opportunities I never had growing up. Everything was fine until last month. I was invited to Emily's high school graduation party, which was a big deal in our family. During the party, Emily gave a speech thanking everyone for their support. She thanked her parents, her grandparents, even her friends. Then she paused, looked at me, and said, "And a big thanks to Aunt Me for not having kids so she could spoil me like I'm hers. Must be nice having all that extra money and no responsibilities." The entire room laughed, and I froze. I could feel everyone looking at me, and all I could do was smile awkwardly. I've heard jokes about being child-free before, but this felt cruel and unnecessary, especially since I've sacrificed a lot to save for her future. My brother and sister-in-law laughed too, which honestly hurt even more. After the party, I confronted Emily privately. She rolled her eyes and said it was just a joke and I needed to lighten up. My brother brushed it off, saying, "Teenagers could be dumb, don't take it personally." I've spent weeks thinking about this, and I've decided to withdraw my offer to pay for her college. I feel like she doesn't respect me or the effort I've made to support her. When I told my brother, he blew up at me, calling me selfish and accusing me of punishing Emily for one harmless joke. Emily hasn't apologized, and now I'm questioning if I'm being too harsh. Edit. Thank you so much for the support. Now that I think about it, I might as well book a dream vacation. Decided to create some ideas for destinations here. So, okay, look, I'm going to overlook the fact that this person graduated high school in November because maybe they're homeschooled, and I'm also going to overlook the fact that their Pinterest is filled with AI-generated images. And I mean, filled. This one barely passes the sniff test, so I'm going to take it at face value. First things first, offering to pay for your niece's college fund is an extremely generous feat, and the fact that your niece had done something to upset you to the point where you're thinking about revoking that, and she hasn't apologized for that action, speaks volumes to how they actually see their aunt and in what way they're kind of just seeing them as being a college fund. They have no care if they upset them or not and see their college fund as a guarantee and not something that could be a privilege to be revoked. And not to mention, with the joke and comment made, it's crystal clear how they see their aunt, with little to no respect. I also want to add that that kind of personal attack that speaks about having extra money and no responsibilities, that sounds more like the parents talking through the child than the child themselves. I think the child probably made the comment because she had heard her parents state that. That's why they were laughing so much. It's also probably why they were so defensive of their daughter, because the daughter was questioned on it. It might reveal how the parents really feel about the aunt in question. So, no, I don't think you're the asshole for revoking the college fund, especially because you made it clear that you're not happy with the comment made at your expense and feel like you're not appreciated for the fact that you're paying for your niece's college. If I found out that I made a comment and I had someone who's paying for my college and they were upset by it, I would be like hands and knees trying to apologize and beg for forgiveness because I would feel awful about that. someone who is doing something so generous for me who I accidentally harmed, I would feel terrible. I would say at least have a conversation with the family and let them know that like, hey, like this really upset me. I feel like I'm not appreciated. I feel like I'm being looked down on despite all the care and sacrifices I'm making for my niece. And I just want to be appreciated. And I felt like the comment made at the party was a bit out of line. If there's no apology or rollback or anything like that, then I would say revoking the college fund would be justified. But what do you all think? Okay, Kale6225. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my neighbor use my driveway after she's been parking in it without asking? So I, 30 female, live in a suburban neighborhood with my husband, 32 male. We have a double driveway that fits both of our cars comfortably, and we've lived here for about 5 years. Our next door neighbor, let's call her Linda, moved in a year ago. She's an older woman in her late 50s who seems friendly on the surface, but has started to cause some issues. It started a few months ago when I came home and found her car parked in my driveway. At first, I thought it was a mistake, so I knocked on her door to ask her to move it. She apologized, saying she had a guest over and her driveway was full. I let it slide that time. But then, it kept happening. I'd come home to find her car, or sometimes her guests' cars, in my driveway. I told her multiple times that it wasn't okay. But she would just shrug it off and move the car when I asked, often saying things like, "It's not like you were using it right then." The final straw happened last week. My mother-in-law, the one who isn't exactly my biggest fan, was visiting, and I specifically asked her to park in the driveway so she wouldn't block the street. When we came home from running errands, Linda's car was there again. Mother-in-law was already in a bad mood, and she snidely remarked, "Wow, even the neighbors walk all over you. I wonder why." I was furious. I knocked on Linda's door and told her that this was the last time she was parking in my driveway. Period. She got defensive, saying I was being unreasonable since she only does it occasionally, and that it's just a driveway, not a sacred space. Since then, she started giving me the cold shoulder, and I've noticed her glaring at me whenever I'm outside. My husband says I might have gone too far and I should have just let it slide, especially since she's older and it's not worth the drama. Even my mother-in-law shockingly agreed, saying that I should pick my battles. But I feel like it's my property, and I shouldn't have to keep asking someone not to use it without permission. At the same time, maybe I overreacted by confronting her so harshly. So, am I the asshole for refusing to let my neighbor park in my driveway and possibly escalating things? So, good news, there's an update to this, and they did exactly what I would have recommended. Bad news is, there's a little bit of hiccups to it. Update, my neighbor kept parking in my driveway, so I had her car towed. Hey everyone, I wanted to update you on my previous post about my neighbor Linda, late 50s, constantly parking in my driveway without asking. For those who didn't see the original post, I, 30 female, live with my husband, 32 male, in a suburban neighborhood with a double driveway. Over the past few months, Linda has repeatedly ignored my requests to stop parking in our driveway. Well, today things finally came to a head. I woke up early for an appointment only to find Linda's car parked in my driveway again, blocking me in. My husband had already left for work, so I knocked on her door and waited for about 15 minutes. But there was no answer. I even tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. I was running late and completely fed up, so I called a towing company. They arrived quickly. And as they were hooking up her car, Linda stormed out of her house. Furious, she yelled at me and the tow truck driver, calling me petty and claiming I could have just waited a bit longer or left a note. I calmly reminded her that I'd asked her multiple times to stop parking in my driveway, but she wasn't having it. She ended up paying the towing fee, and now she's absolutely livid. She's been telling other neighbors that I'm a vindictive control freak, and a couple of them have hinted that I might have gone too far. Even my husband thinks I could have handled it differently and avoided escalating things. And of course, my mother-in-law, who was visiting today, had to chime in with one of her usual subtle digs. As we were sitting down for lunch, she casually remarked, "Some people just can't manage conflict like adults." I'm pretty sure she wasn't talking about Linda. So now, Linda glares at me every time she sees me. My husband is annoyed about the neighborhood drama, and my mother-in-law is treating this like it's my personal failure. I still think I was justified, but I'll admit the fallout is a lot to deal with. Just wanted to keep you all updated. Thanks for all the advice in the last post. So the thing is, if your neighbor was blocking you in on your driveway and you did not give them permission to be there, you are 100% within your right to tow them. You did everything you should have, including knocking on their door to get them to move, and they would not answer until the tow truck showed up. That's on them. If they want to go and start neighborhood drama, you should go tell Linda or tell the others. How would you feel if you woke up and found Linda's car blocking you in your garage? What would you do when she wasn't answering her door despite your repeated attempts to call her, knock on her door, and wait? I'm sure if your neighbors woke up and were late for work one morning and found her car in their driveway blocking them in, they would have a very different tone. And if your husband is going to be like this, you can tell Linda she's free to park in your driveway, as long as she only blocks your husband in and not you. A lot of people will claim they'll turn the other cheek and be saintly in situations like this, but when the inconvenience actually hits them, you see their true colors and how they really feel about it. Own information 9013. Am I the asshole for refusing to share my dinner with 2 children? My, female 29, boyfriend Albert, male 35, and I had a great relationship until his family moved closer to us. I haven't seen a more toxic or entangled family connection. It seems like every ex and their mother is an enemy. Every ex-boss had it out for them. Every friend should help out more and more. Everyone should take their verbal abuse. After a few run-ins, I cut mother-in-law off. His sister, female 37, is in the habit of showing up at dinner time. She has 2 kids, 7 female and 9 male, that she always brings along. I don't mind sharing a meal, but I hated her dropping by without a warning. Albert never took action, and this created problems. Now, sister-in-law has an unbearable parenting style. Don't get me wrong, they are good kids, but she overindulges them and lets too many things slide as they're just kids. So they interject in adult conversations, have crying fits when told no, and are prone to grabbing, touching, taking objects without permission. So they took things around the house, cupboard items, small sculptures, my stash of hotel toiletries, my hair extensions, to play with, and had me going crazy trying to find them later. Fast forward, and her son, who has anxiety, had a small crisis from opening our kitchen drawer and grabbing some Pop-Its, party snaps. Some fell and popped real loud, and he cried because he was embarrassed. I did not offer comfort that would be indulging in his snoopy behavior, so I stayed quiet and asked Albert to talk to his sister, which I'm sure he didn't. I'm not happy in my relationship. I don't have privacy. His sister keeps showing up despite being told, by myself, that she can't keep showing up uninvited. I'm sick of having to hide things that I think her kids could get their hands on. I recently put a lock on my home office door because I suspect that sister-in-law has been using my copy machine while I'm out. I work both at home and at 2 client sites and have been getting home after 8 p.m. I'm sick of being tense and dreading her visits because he lets her eat through our groceries like she has a right to do it. He has called me selfish and greedy. I thought he would be more considerate now that they gave him less hours at work, and his pay cut has caused me to pay for most of our bills. Sister-in-law is a nail technician and a hairstylist. She was also a teacher at a beauty academy until she had her kids. Now she won't do anything but badmouth her ex and complain about how hard life is. She has a place to live with access to her own food and her own car. I'm thinking that she may be doing this on purpose. Last Friday, Albert went bowling with his friends. I told him that I wanted a very quiet evening and didn't want to be bothered. I got home around 7 p.m. and sat down to eat my seafood boil. Sister-in-law showed up, asking for her daughter's backpack that she left behind. I was annoyed. I tried to rush to get it to her, but her son saw the crab legs and started insisting. I said I was sorry, but that's my dinner. So he starts crying, stomping and repeatedly asking his mom for my food. I said I was sorry and quickly showed them out. To my aggravation, they didn't leave immediately. He cried outside for about 5 minutes while sister-in-law sat inside her car trying to convince him to get in. I pulled down the shutters and tried to ignore them. When Albert got back, his face had a bitter expression. He said that he was extremely disgusted about the way that I treated his family. He stopped talking to me. It's been a few days and I'm still getting the silent treatment. I've cried a few times, especially because he's been texting me despite us being physically next to each other. Sister-in-law showed up yesterday, but he wasn't home yet, so I didn't let her in. I'm angry and defeated, and I'm coming to the conclusion that I need to end the relationship because he texted me that I need to apologize to sister-in-law. I didn't want things to end between us, but I feel like they're trying to walk all over me. This is so surreal. We had planned on a cozy Xmas together months ago when things were good. I'm not trying to ruin his life right now. His finances are not great and my salary makes a huge difference. I just don't want to be made to feel like his family can get away with what they're doing, and I hold resentment. I texted him about how I feel and how incredibly selfish he is to be comfortable giving to his sister with what my hard work can buy but can't think to respect my boundaries. Am I the asshole if I leave? I feel like somehow I'm the failure for not being willing to fight for our relationship. So, isolating this as just the night in question where you specifically asked for a quiet night for just you while he was out bowling and the sister-in-law showed up and demanded that she have access to your home and access to your food, yeah, not the asshole. Now, as for everything else that's going on where you're being put in a position where they're trying to force you to apologize for the fact that you had requested a quiet night and she showed up unannounced, that's bullshit. Props to you for actively communicating, but if it doesn't go anywhere and they stonewall and continue to blame you, as long as you can afford it, I would say if he's not willing to actually meet you and understand the fact that, hey, what's going on right now is bullshit, you should probably just leave him. If communication's not working and he doesn't want to listen and he thinks you're the selfish one for wanting peace and quiet in your own home and not having his sister rummaging and taking your food that you pay for, that she feels entitled to, there does come a line where you're gonna probably just have to end the relationship. And trust me, if you find a family where it's as you described, where it seems like every ex and their mother is an enemy, every ex-boss had it out for them, every friend should help out more, everyone should take their verbal abuse, what do you think is happening to you? Do you think you're excluded from the chopping block? You're not. You will be their villain of the week eventually, if you aren't already. Oh, and by the way, your boyfriend doing this shit where he's in the same fucking room as you and sending you text messages to communicate instead of actually having a conversation with you is not okay. And I'll admit, there are times where I get so frustrated in a situation where I need to type something out over text and send it, but that's just because I struggle with my words sometimes and can't fully communicate the thoughts that I have in my head and need to write it out. But after that, I get my thoughts on paper and sent. Normally, I'm good to have a regular conversation and I won't dedicate any kind of interaction to being over text message. That's just immature. OP should definitely do a lot of stuff to make sure they're going to be safe if they're going to be splitting ties with Albert, because this relationship isn't healthy, and it's clear that if this is the way that Albert approaches family, it's only going to get worse from here. That's just my honest opinion on this. Like, this is just not a healthy environment to be in. You tried communication and they only made you out to be further the villain. Like, you gotta put you first. Professional Key 3176. Am I the asshole for not selling my car even though my fiance refuses to sit in the front seat because my ex sat there? Hi everyone, I'm 27 male and I'm engaged to my fiance, 26 female. And while we're preparing for our wedding, something recently came up that's left me confused and conflicted. I want to know if I'm in the wrong here or if her reaction is unreasonable. Here's the issue. My fiance refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex used to sit there. She says it makes her uncomfortable and feels like she's taking what someone else is. Instead, she insists on sitting in the back seat whenever we go somewhere, which honestly feels strange to me, like I'm her chauffeur. I offered to sell the car if it truly bothers her, but she told me not to because it would feel like she's forcing me to do something. However, she still won't sit in the front seat and avoids interacting with anything related to my past relationships. This is part of a bigger pattern. She's mentioned multiple times that she doesn't want to do things I've done with my ex, like cuddling on the couch during a movie or visiting places I've been before. I've tried to be understanding of her feelings, but I'm starting to feel like I'm being held responsible for my past, which I can't change. It's also confusing because she keeps in touch with her own ex. Oh, fuck that. Dude, fuck that. It's also confusing because she keeps in touch with her own ex, occasionally texting or calling him, which I have no issue with as I trust her. Whenever these situations come up, she tends to withdraw emotionally, avoiding physical affection, not saying goodnight, or being distant. While I love her and want to work through this, I'm starting to feel like I'm walking on eggshells around her emotions, especially when they're tied to things I can't control, like my past. Too long didn't read, my fiance refuses to sit in the front seat of my car because my ex sat there and avoids doing things I did with my ex. I offered to sell the car, but she doesn't want me to, even though she won't engage with it. Am I the asshole for not selling the car and thinking her behavior is unreasonable? No, not at all. Well, okay, hold up. There's more to this, because the more that I dig into this post, this is an arranged marriage. And OP's only known his current fiancé for a few months. There's a lot more going on here than we're being led on to, because I assume this was a traditional relationship. They had met and willingly decided to become engaged and elope, but apparently this is not quite the case. And I'm almost wondering if she's doing this kind of shit to get out of doing things that she doesn't want to do, and she doesn't actually want to be with OP, so she's doing weird little games like this to get out of the marriage. If this wasn't an arranged marriage, I'd say that OP should call the wedding off until his girlfriend gets more mature and probably should go to couples counseling so they can get to the bottom of things. However, learning this was an arranged marriage definitely gives a weird taste to my mouth, because that's pretty vital information that's missing from this post. Not to mention, OP says that he's pretty sure she wasn't forced into it. Not to mention, beyond the one time where he mentions that it's an arranged marriage, the entire comment thread is full with him doing laughing, crying emojis, and yeah, she needs more therapy. So, I don't know, this leaves a weird taste in my mouth, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I don't have enough information. However, OP did later comment that he was calling the marriage off because of the replies that he was getting in this post, making him see the larger picture, so I suppose both parties are probably getting what they want. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.